Okay.
We need to introduce the idea of circular economy into society in a way that doesn't feel like it's punitive. So many of the policy initiatives and implementation of policy initiatives associated with sustainability or climate action, initiatives that are designed to address the different crises that we face, end up being punishing for the poorest or the most vulnerable in society, or they end up being really expensive for people who are sort of in the middle, who are out there working and trying to pay rent or a mortgage or buy food or keep a car on the road. And policies can tend to turn people against the green agenda, let's say. This is an agenda that I've always worked on, that I 100% support, and circular economy is part of that. But my wish for how circular economy could be different would be that as it's implemented and as we drive it into become the normal in society, that the circular options, let's say, are always accessible and they're always affordable, and that we pitch it in a way that we can see, people can see the benefits of it. You know, this is about going into creating a society and an economy that's resource efficient, where there's less waste, but it's also got a social element to it, where there's fairness and equality. And not only fairness and equality as we introduce circular economy, but that we use the leverages of circular economy to address the inequality that has continued to grow and grow and grow in the last number of decades.
Where does technology fall into all this?
Importantly, technology can be one of the tools in some cases to help drive more resource efficiency and more circularity, particularly in the area, I would say, of sharing data and information, for example, along supply chains, and also in the area of being able to remanufacture when it comes to particularly technological goods. But it's important that technology is seen as one of the many tools to help us achieve circularity, and that technology or high technology in itself doesn't become a goal or an objective. So we separate the two out. Digitalization, high technology, yes, can benefit the transition to a circular economy, but they shouldn't become an objective in themselves, because there's many examples of low technology solutions and low technology options that are actually very circular and are the choices that we should be making.
In a way, you guessed my next question, which is, I would like to come also to Greece, and I would like also to address exactly what you said, which I had in mind. Some countries are not so high tech, such as Greece. They have areas which are high tech, but the whole country needs to upgrade. So let's talk about low tech solutions to circular economy, and give some examples which maybe would apply also to countries with a profile like Greece or other Mediterranean countries.
Sure, and I recognize that profile because living in rural Ireland, for example, even our internet connection or our broadband speeds are too slow for a lot of things. So many of the options that are available that are low tech, let's say, we could look to moving further up the waste hierarchy. So when you look at reuse, for example, or sharing services, those things can be low technology, particularly if you operate at a community level. If you're sharing power tools, for example, or if you're sharing devices that people are using, the actual sharing process can be low technology. You can be sharing high technology devices, but you can be sharing just tools, for example, in a rural community that might require a lot of investment and be used once or twice a year, but a community can just get together in the old-fashioned way of meeting up in a town hall or in a cafe or in a bar, depending on your culture, and make those decisions to have that kind of sharing network. So a vibrant community network, I think, has social benefits where we're connecting again with our neighbours, but also can be a low-tech circular option. Also, when we look at soil, we talked about soil and about biological circularity. Mm-hmm. Well, the circular economy has become very focused on materials, and the use of materials and making the materials move in a circle. But since the beginning, there's been a second circle, if you like. The circular economy was more than about materials. It was also about biological processes. And that's coming back up to the fore now. We're talking about a bioeconomy and linking that as part of the circular economy. And what we're talking about there is often low technology. So using soil in a way that is regenerative for the soil. There's a big agricultural movement on regenerative agriculture, which doesn't require all the certification processes of organic, for example, but can be a principled approach that is low technology and that is using land in a way where all of the ecosystem services or all the wonderful things that the soil does and filtration that trees do and so on, they're all utilized to their maximum in a low technology way.
Let's move to another subject, which is unfortunately a subject for 2 years now Greece is involved in. Unfortunately, we have a new era of investment regarding defense industries and defense technology due to the Russian invasion in Ukraine. So I understand that since also the discussions we have in the radio of the Hellenic News Agency are also tech and defense tech related, I would like to ask if in that area we can embed circular economy solutions, ideas, or policies, of course, which as the EU are trying to accelerate production, unfortunately, of course, to cater for the needs of this war or for the defense of the European nations. And maybe we should try to put these principles and connect them, everything we've talked about, also to that industry, which is now starting to be overfunded in a way.
Yeah, there's some work happening in that space already on a European level. 2 years ago, I think it was now, I went to a defense agency conference where they wanted to explore the ideas of circularity that was held in Luxembourg. And the same conference is on again in, I think, about 2 weeks' time here in Brussels, with a focus on circularity in the industry. I joked at the time that it was going to be a conversation about reusing bullets, and actually, to my surprise, when I was educated on the topic at the conference, this is one of the things, or at least there's an issue around the use of mercury in bullets, which is banned in hunting but is allowed in army training facilities, for example, and creates a certain problems with the soil in areas where training is carried out. Seems like a small thing, but it's just about applying that principle there. But the bigger thing, the transformative thing with the defence industry is if you think about all of the purchasing they do in terms of vehicles, buildings, and uniforms even. So in the area of material use in construction and in the area of textiles, the defence industry is a huge player and a huge spender in those areas. So the principles of circularity can be applied to those aspects of the defence industry and actually linked to rules around public procurement, so that you're spending public money on circular, sustainable items. That can be quite a transformative area to be involved in, and the work has started on that. Of course, much more to do.
Can you bring some examples to the people listening and then reading this interview?
From the defense.
Some examples of reuse, of free capital, of regenerating materials. What you said, like
honestly,
you said uniforms, for example, like
I can't
the
give
cotton.
You an example at the moment. I don't have an example. I'm sorry, because there may be examples out there. In my reading and preparation for this event in 2 weeks, I may find them, but at the moment, I don't know if that's...
So it's a discussion which has started on that. I suppose also since the industry in Europe, they need materials, it's to their benefit, because if, unfortunately, I said we have to build a tank, it's maybe better to get the materials from an old one and reuse them for the new one. Out of my head now, right?
Yeah, and for any material use. So if you're upgrading a tank, for example, if you can take the old one and reuse 90% of it, then you're applying the circular economy principles, but you also have some control over your own supply of materials and so on. So there's multiple benefits to it.
It's an unfortunate conversation we're having, but we have to have it. It's the reality now. Yeah. All right. A message to the Greek public in a way about everything we said. Should they be waiting for Europe to get better in circular economy? Should they do something more on their own? What would you tell to the Greek?
I would say to organize into communities. I think our strength is when we get together a group of people who have the same interests and organize ourselves, and then really push and demand of our public representatives, of our politicians, to create policies to implement these things. So many people I know that are into protecting the environment. They want to address the climate problem, they want to address biodiversity collapse, and they find it difficult to support the political representatives who are pushing these ideas because the way they're being implemented is seen as punishing the very people who want to support the ideas. The only way to address that is for Greek people to get together, organize yourselves into little groups, and push your local representatives. Make sure you have people who represent your viewpoint and people who are working towards a principle of cooperation, because every success with the circular economy and with all of these different crises we want to address is done through cooperation and through groups getting together. And when we don't do that, we allow someone else to create the narrative, we allow extreme views to come in which offer simple solutions to complex problems. The problems we face are complex and difficult, and to solve them we need to get together many different minds and accept that the solutions might also be complex and take time.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.